Hey everybody, Moses Frost here, and I am coming to you live from the recording studio, the house, really. Today's agenda item, today's story, is going to be around rural hospitals. There's an actual Microsoft article that came out earlier this week that talked about the fact that rural hospitals, by and large, are underfunded, terribly underfunded when it comes to cybersecurity. Microsoft estimates about $75 million. I estimate way more. Let me give you some background for those that are non-US citizens. So the way it works in the United States with hospitals is that they are all privately run, with the exception of a couple county hospitals from the cities, as well as some university ones that are there for education. But for the most part, they're all for-profit, non-governmental organizations. Yes, I know that there is the VA and Medicaid and Medicare, but hospitals don't typically work that way. Now, with that said, there has to be an investment in every hospital towards IT systems. And if you've ever worked in a hospital, I started working at a hospital in my career 25 years ago. And if you've never worked in a hospital, they are disastrous environments when it comes to IT. I have seen everything. Every department at the hospital can implement their own system. Radiology labs, oncology, your basic electronic medical records, all these systems are disparate, and there is no uniform national system for any of it, and every doctor's office can have their own system. So, with that said, you see everything at these hospitals, every single thing, and because of that, the underlying system and the technologies that's being used is not always well tested and robust or even maintained. And there's some fault that is the hospitals, there's some fault that's monetary, there's some fault that's the FDA, there's some faults that's a hardware manufacturer. It's a multi-prong process, right? For example, if you need to upgrade your MRI radiology machines that work, but are running Windows XP or Windows 7, which seems ancient today, those machines, you'll have to probably buy a brand new one. So let's say $1 million per machine. And that money could be spent on, say, a new Gamma knife, right? For, cutting open, cancer research or cancer tumors in the brain or something like that. So because of that, we quite often see underfunded departments in hospital IT, healthcare IT, and it is not uncommon or weird to see that they fall victim to things like ransomware. Now, fast forward this to sections of the country that are rural hospitals. These are hospitals that are not the ones that you and I would think of when we go to the emergency room at a big city. These are very, very small places. They're typically underfunded. Some of them may even have film for radiology, right? So with that said, imagine what their IT systems are like. And if they have a staff of IT people, it might be one IT person or two. So we're talking very thin environments. Now, this is the way that rural IT in these places are. And it would not be weird to see these hospitals fall victim to things like ransomware. And what's really dangerous about that is that some of these places, it will be the only hospital within a 100-mile radius. And so if they fall victim to ransomware, they sure as hell better have backup procedures for how to not rely on IT systems because, well, that might be a problem. Now, if they get ransomware, and let's just say that this does happen, recovery and restoration of these systems might be prolonged. And there was something called the Lincoln Project out of DEF CON that was trying to do some work around this. Honestly, if you can find a way to volunteer and help out in some of these places, that would be wildly needed. There are companies out there that do help out rural critical infrastructure like power systems and water utilities and the like. Typically, hospitals don't fall into that, but they should.